That's not autism. That's trauma.
If I had $1 for every time I heard that from a therapist, a doctor, or someone on the internet, I'd be rich right now. But here's the problem. Autism and trauma can look very similar on the surface. Things like shutdowns, social anxiety, sensory overwhelm, even needing strict routines. So people start asking the same question.
Is this autism or is this trauma?
And the truth is, there is overlap, but they are not the same thing. Today, we're breaking down 5 key differences between autism and trauma so you can better understand what's actually going on. And one of the biggest clues? It's when these patterns first started showing up in someone's life. But we'll get back to that in a minute. And by the way, if throughout this video you're starting to put the pieces together and think you might be autistic, we've got a free resource that will help you with where to start. Links in the description. Now, for the 5 key differences, let's start with something that most people miss. Why am I dressed up like Sherlock Holmes? Socializing. Natural differences versus learned fear. Wait, what did she just say? Should I be responding differently? Why did she suddenly just get quiet? Is she upset? Totally blew it. And now she probably hates me. For a lot of autistic people, socializing isn't necessarily scary, but it is confusing. Tone, implied meaning, facial expressions, social rules, these are all confusing. There's a lot of unwritten rules in conversation and social situations. And sometimes it feels like everyone else got the instruction manual and you somehow got nothing. Not even a memo. That's because autistic people like structure. We like patterns and rules. And socializing? It isn't like that. Just stick to the rules, people. It's usually unpredictable with tons of variables and contexts. And we're all supposed to just get it. So we might avoid it before our heads explode. Or we always felt a little different because we are different. Anyone else ever wonder if they were adopted or an alien? Just me? Trauma can also make people withdraw socially, but it's often for a different reason. The person might understand the social rules just fine, but they just don't feel comfortable around people. Maybe they expect criticism or rejection or conflict. Past experiences have taught them to be cautious. So both trauma and autism can lead people to avoid social situations, but for totally different reasons. And it's very possible both brains might ruminate on social situations way later. Another good reason to, just quietly opt out. Just saying. But again, for different reasons, like different processing speeds or understanding implied meanings. So we might sit on it and finally get it weeks later.
Oh, that's what they meant.
And if you struggle in social situations but still want to connect with people, that's actually one of the reasons we built the Auticate membership. Because a lot of us, we don't need more social pressure. We need places where we don't have to perform all the time, where you can just talk, ask questions, say something weird, not overthink every little thing. And people actually get it. Or don't talk and just observe and listen. So if that sounds like something you've been missing, I'll link that below. Sensory experiences. Processing differences versus trauma triggers.
Loud noise. Hide. Wait, what's happening? Bright lights. What was I doing again? Talking. I'm nervous. Was I talking? Who's talking? I don't remember what I was supposed to do. Where am I? My face. Why can't I feel my face? I can't feel the left side of my face. People. There's still people. Are they looking at me? They're looking. Someone's looking. I feel it. I feel breathing. I hear breathing. Stop breathing. Stop breathing. Calm down. You calm down. Okay, I'm ready. I'm not ready.
That's the same sound that I heard right before the crash. I need to calm down.
Noises and other sensory triggers can lead to strong emotions for both autistic people and those who've experienced trauma. And the nervous system response can look very similar. But for autistic people, it's often linked to the unique sensory experience of being autistic. It can be really strong for people who are hypersensitive. The wrong lights can feel overwhelming. Specific noises can be exhausting. Sudden loud noises suck, but so do the silent ones that other people don't seem to notice, like the humming of the fridge, constantly in B flat. Strong smells can make you angry, and meanwhile, no one else even seems to notice any of it. These reactions usually aren't tied to a specific memory. They're just how the autistic nervous system processes sensory input. Trauma triggers tend to work differently. A certain sound, place, or situation might trigger the nervous system because it reminds the brain of a specific experience. So two people might react strongly to the same exact trigger, but the nervous system is reacting to sensory overwhelm and the other is signaling danger. And if you're autistic, your brain might signal everything as danger. Routines. Predictability versus avoiding danger.
Hey, guys. Hey, how's it going? Perfect timing. Oh, me and my good buddy Fluvin McWigglybiggly are heading to the new local bar that just opened. He's Irish. But anyway, they got live music. They got great food. You guys want to come?
Changes to my plan. Bright lights. Loud noises. Smelly food. Smelly people. No thanks.
Nope, I never go to bars if I can avoid them. They remind me of that time I got yelled at, and then that really scary guy was waiting for me outside my car after.
Autistic brains often prefer predictability. We like knowing what's coming next, having a plan, and sticking to it. Now, a lot of us also have ADHD, so we might go off plan, and it might make things a little bit sticky and land you in debt or the ER. Just saying. But we're not necessarily thinking,
That's dangerous.
it's more,
Yeah, we had a plan, and that was not part of the plan.
but trauma can be different. It sometimes leads to hypervigilance. Basically, the brain spends tons of time scanning for danger. Things like rejection are still examples of this danger, but it comes from past experiences and trying to avoid them happening again. So having a routine or a plan helps to remove unpredictability and potential danger, and it can lead to avoidance, which autistic people sometimes do too. So it's about craving structure and routine for predictability versus trying to stay safe from harm. Communication. Preferred style versus emotional reactivity.
I completely ad-libbed on. So, what'd you think of the presentation? It was interesting. Yes, he thought it was interesting. Okay. Wait, we got a lot more we can share with this guy. Oh, time to shock and awe him for the next 6 hours. It was all incredible because you know. And then I was like, wait a minute.
Hey, what'd you think of the presentation?
It was interesting.
He hated it, and he sounds sarcastic, I can tell. Why do I always mess these things up? Who does he think he is anyway? That's the last time I asked his opinion. His was way worse.
Autistic communication is often very direct. It's literal and honest. Sometimes extremely honest. What can I say? It gets us in trouble. Often. Does that mean you'll get it right next time? Nope. Especially in cultures where politeness is wrapped in 25 layers of smiles and fluff. It's hard to figure out what people really mean. So when you're talking, you might say exactly what you mean, but you're still misunderstood. Or they interpret your tone or facial expression differently than you intended it. And only later, you discover that you missed a bunch of other social cues earlier. Or you were supposed to read between the lines, and you're still trying to figure out where the lines even are. So, for example, you might tell someone,
Wow, that looks like a chicken crossed with a dinosaur. And I love both of those.
But I was drawing a person. Are you saying my pictures are bad? What do you mean, a dinosaur and a chicken? Where did you come up with that?
Yeah, I'm sensing she's upset. But I literally said I loved what was in the picture.
Now, trauma responses can often look different in conversation. The difficulty isn't usually misunderstanding social meaning, it's about emotional safety. Conversations can trigger strong reactions if something feels negative, like conflict or criticism, or possibly rejection of some kind. So, from the outside, communication can look tense or difficult for both brains. But the reason underneath is very different. An autistic brain might miss an implied meaning or a subtle difference in tone, or the autistic brain might miss key signs or misinterpret them, or process them much later because, in the moment, it might be too much.
And we're just gonna shut it down. No.
A trauma response may detect a threat or what it perceives as a threat because that nervous system has learned to expect one and brace for it, early and often.
We're locked, loaded, and waiting, baby.
It's reacting that way to protect itself from perceived danger, so it might understand just fine, but responds in a protective way. And based on the individual, the interpretations might seem extreme, especially for something that seems negative or hostile, even if it's not intended that way. So although both have challenges communicating with others, there are some big differences between how autism and trauma show up in communication. How direct you are, how much you explain, or when you shut down. Lifelong pattern for something that started later.
Why do you do that?
Well, after those things happened, I had a really hard time in situations that reminded me of them. What about you?
Not really sure. I'm pretty sure I've always done this.
Since when?
Since I was born? I don't know. I wasn't there. Well, I mean, I was there, but I don't remember. But I bet I smell bad. And for the record, of all the brains I've seen in my lifetime, you're the hottest.
Before, I thought you were smart, but now I know you are.
This last difference is one of the biggest clues professionals look at. When did these patterns start? Because this is where it's completely different, and it really impacts everything else. Autism is a neurodevelopmental condition. That means the traits are present early in life, even if nobody recognized them back then. That's a lot of late diagnosed autistics, which explains a lot. You might look back and notice things like sensory sensitivities as a kid, confusion in social situations, very intense interests, strong routines or predictability, and resistance when things change. Or complete shutdown, or meltdown, or both. The signs were often there long before anyone had a label for them. You probably had them as a kid, but if you're late diagnosed, you learn to hide it. All of it by masking, adapting, and possibly having a system for absolutely everything. Even how you fold socks, so your brain doesn't explode. Trauma responses usually develop in response to trauma. So after difficult experiences or prolonged stress, the nervous system learns proactive patterns, but it's developed over time. So one of the most important questions becomes, were these patterns always there? Or did they begin after something happened? That's the biggest difference between autism and trauma, and also why this isn't intended for diagnostic purposes, just better understanding. But it becomes a lot blurrier when research continues to show that autistic people are generally much more likely to experience trauma than autistic people. More on that one later in our video on the overlap with trauma and autism. So be sure to subscribe so you'll know when that's out. And also let me know in the comments, which of these surprised you the most?
Perfect timing. Me and my good buddy Floozle McFloozy Flavin. We're locked, loaded, and waiting, baby! Me and my good buddy Floozle McFluvin.